Hello and welcome to episode number 31. Evening, lads.
Hi,
Hello,
Sam.
hello. You right?
That was a bit deflated.
That's what Saturday did to everybody, I think. You're still wearing
Yeah.
the Dan Cassende shirt, though.
Signed right there. Although, if I've got one regret, he signed it with like bronze Sharpie. Might take a silver one with me next time
Mm.
and get it done in silver.
So how do you preserve those, Sam? Is that never
To
going
be
in the wash?
honest,
Are there ways
no,
of like
this
preserving these things?
this is not going to be washed now.
Okay.
I think there's a strong possibility that I might frame it and put it on my office wall.
Hmm.
Strong possibility. He didn't even threaten me with a restraining order.
And that's about
Oh, he
twice in
loves
2 weeks
it.
you've met him now, isn't
He loved it. He was
it?
like, people have been messaging me about merch. And I was
That's good.
like, tempted to say, should we do a licensing deal, Dan?
He couldn't pay you for the publicity that he's getting. So yeah, no, I'm
Exactly.
surprised.
I
I'm
showed
not surprised.
everybody this t-shirt on Saturday, whether they
Yeah.
wanted to see it or not. Um, his girlfriend also liked it. So I'm
But she was that
tempted to
person,
get
is
it
that?
one made. She
Yeah,
asked for a
Hmm.
picture with me, with my
Yeah.
t-shirt.
Nice.
Um, so I'm tempted to get her one made and give it to the club and send it. But
Well,
you know,
I've also been messaged a couple of times on Instagram and stuff, Sam. Uh, People expressing interest in both your shirt and my Tipuric ones. So maybe that's something we have to do in the off season is looking to get in a couple of batches of these t-shirts
we've
printed.
started a trend, and
I
we're
know.
literally on trend.
get a side
And
side hustle going of t-shirts
Yeah.
of the players.
Yeah.
so much like I got to apologise to Rod because I wasn't thinking on Saturday morning. So I put my pod hoodie on, was going to take it with me for Rod, and then I panicked because I looked at the stadium's bag sizes. And then I was like, oh my God, what if they take the hoodie off me? Not thinking that I got like five lads with me that I could have got to put a hoodie on. And then Rod met us beforehand anyway with the gorgeous, wonderful, lovely Amy. She's still not quite my best friend, Rod, but I'm getting there. Like lots of love for Amy. But we've had lots of love for the pod hoodie as well. People are loving your logo, Rod.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Glad to
look at
hear
on the
it.
sideline, mate. And it'd be like Del Boy now wants to be my Rodney. I'll be like,
Just
buy
need
a
a three-wheeler
t-shirt here,
van.
like it's
I'll start renting my services out to the other Welsh rugby podcasts.
well, I'm not saying
It
nothing.
won't be as good
Get
as
me,
ours. It won't make them as good as ours.
obviously not,
Oh.
obviously not. Um, but yeah, Saturday. So I've got to do a couple of shout outs before we start. Um, met up with some of the rap guys. May or may not be naughty and covered them all in black feather stickers. Some of them more amenable to that than others.
No
Sorry.
names.
Hashtag not sorry in the slightest. Um, think they were a bit gel of the stickers. Think that they were a bit gel of the hoodie. Up your game, lads. Up your game. Um, but we did also meet the lovely Jamie. We had a little cotch with Jamie upstairs in Tiny Rebel. Um, Jamie's Lash. Love Jamie. Thanks for giving me or me and Rod a shout out on your pod this week. Um, but also we got stickers now. Rod gave me stickers before the game. So I took these stickers into the sit stadium, big roll of stickers, and I've got three left. Three.
I've had mine for
Because if
weeks,
anybody,
I'll have you know, and I probably haven't done half.
Well, we just worked out
if
that's three out of a roll of about 80, Sam. So there's 77 people wandering around with black feather stickers on them in Cardiff.
listen, listen now, right? If you came within touching distance of me, you got stickered. Tristan Davis walking down Westgate Street with his brother, he got stickered. Keelan Giles' mum and dad, they got stickered. Keith's mum and dad asked Keelan's mum and dad to come over to me to ask me for stickers. They all got stickered. Dewi got given some stickers. Dan got given some stickers. Ben Warren got given stickers. Anybody who moved in that presidential lounge got stickered. They were put up in toilets, they were put up in Tiny Rebel, they were put up in Brewdog. I even put one on the Welsh Rugby Union shop. I was on it. I'm like a PR machine.
You
I've got
definitely
no
beat me.
shame.
You beat me, hands down. But I did get a policeman, and I did get the big tiny rebel bear sign on the outside of the building. There's a bit of a
Banging.
scratch, so it's on the bottom of its foot because that's about as high as I could reach. But I got it.
I got Scarlet's fans as well. So Tahana in Brewdog, I know you've said your granddad would disown you, but it's a beautiful logo. And you're following us now on Instagram as well. So well done, Hannah. Come to the dark side. It's great. We got stickers. Um, but that's the fun of Saturday. Talked about. And I suppose we've got to rip that plaster off now, don't we? And discuss
Mm.
that result on Saturday. Now, I had
Yeah,
lots of Cardiff fans in front of me, and yeah, I may or may not have annoyed them on that first yellow card. Um, because I shouted out, take a break, sit down for 10 minutes. They can't afford to pay you for the full 80. I think it might have been too soon.
yeah,
Also calling them Wales A didn't go down very
people
well
as
because
well.
they were in red.
Yeah,
Now, bit of bants. One of them got a bit of aggy, but the look on my face must have just said it all. Um, we looked tired, didn't we? We looked
Yeah,
really tired.
yeah.
yeah,
First half we got totally outplayed, and when the game was over already by half time, and then we did lots of huffing and puffing second half, like we did against Leon the week before. But the
Yeah,
players were dead on the feet, like you said, and yeah, we can't really complain about the result. I know some people were complaining about the referee
no,
and stuff online. It wouldn't have made any difference. We were done, weren't we?
bit
yeah.
naff in some points, but then again, that's URC ref, and I think looking at it, you could say if you were a Cardiff fan, bit naff on points for them as well. So it wasn't as though he was bad just against us. It was just usual URC ref in standards,
There's been
really, wasn't
worse
it?
ref in performances over the past year, isn't it? I don't think it's one
We've had worse, yeah.
with
We've
highlighting.
had
I think we've only got ourselves to blame, really. We were just 5-10% off everything that we were trying to do. Um, not in terms of effort, but in terms of execution. Effort
got a bit
was
loose.
through the roof again. The boys were just running into brick walls all day. In that way, it was a bit of a reflection of the Lyon game, just with a little, um, I don't know, a little less intensity to it. But yeah, we were a little bit too deep all the time. We were always taking the ball just a little bit too slow. We weren't changing up our game plan, like in the Lyon game again. When faced with things not working, we just seem to sort of repeat
Stick
the
with
same
plan A.
pattern and expect different results, which
Yeah.
we all know the old adage. So
Definition of
yeah,
madness.
It
a
was
little
hard,
bit.
to expect the same intensity with the majority of the same team playing for 3 weeks consecutively in
Mm,
three big games.
yeah.
I think it was a lot to ask, and I think initially post-match, and there was a lots of sort of comments online about, oh, if only we'd concentrated on the league and not worried about Europe or whatever. But hindsight's wonderful, isn't
It
it?
wouldn't have made any
Decisions,
difference.
decisions were made, and we wouldn't have had that brilliant result against the Scarlets and the joy of that game if we hadn't, if we'd rested for that game instead of the league game the week before. The players were done anyway. They were toast anyway. We've got lots of injuries now anyway, resulting over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, there's nothing that could have been changed, I don't think, in hindsight. It is what it is, as I say. And, we've asked a lot of the players since Christmas, really. There's been not a huge amount of rotation since Mark Jones has come in, really, apart from the internationals. The other lads have played pretty much week in, week out, and it's taken its toll by the end of the season, really.
So,
Yeah,
so
I
do you think
spoke.
there could have been a different tactical approach on the weekend that could have won us that game, or do you think we were spent no matter what?
I think part of it's down to Cardiff. I think Cardiff had
Shut us down.
prepared for us and shut
Mm,
down the wide channels for us, especially, which forced us more into the central areas, which they defended really, really well. And I think it was an element of working us out a little bit, maybe, and the players didn't have that maybe on the field, like you said, that 5 to 10% mentally that they would have found a workaround maybe a few weeks before. On Saturday, they were just sort of, exhausted from the energy of the last few weeks and didn't have the mental capacity to work around it. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think Cardiff have done their homework on us big time.
Defensively, they had our number,
Yeah,
definitely. And I think we didn't switch up. We know, like, Keith is an absolute beast. He's going to go up the middle, but they shut that down every time. He couldn't get that ball out to the wider channels to get across that game line. And again, looking at our possession, there were times when we were camped on that try line and we just didn't come away with any points.
Mhm.
Which, when you have that amount of possession, you can't afford to do. We didn't really capitalise on the yellow cards that, Cardiff had. Um, pains me to say it, but they did look pretty good. Hamer Webb had a really, really good game. Um,
Cardiff were clinical first half, and there was a three entries
yeah,
to
they
our
shut us
22
down.
and scored in all three of them. You can't be more clinical than that. And we had, I don't know how many entries in sort of comparison in that first half, but it would have been significantly more than they had, and came away, like you say, with no points at all. So you've got
Yeah.
to score when the opportunities are there, and they did, and we
I
didn't.
I think in across the entire 80 minutes, I think we had 11 or 12 entries into the 22 and we capitalized on what I forget the score now, but we capitalized on what, two of those?
Yeah. I mean, we
Um
did well to make it a game in the end. We were going into the last five still in it. And then they got the two late tries to run away with it in the end, which was a little bit, skewed that scoreline a little bit, unfortunately, in the end in their direction. But it was probably a reflection of the game overall. Really. I don't think, if we had manufactured a win or a draw from somewhere, it would have been quite hard. Cardiff would have felt hard done by if that was the case.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because we know that we have sort of two elements to our game now, whereas previously we might have been a bit more one-dimensional, playing a forwards-heavy game. We now have, to some degree, the ability to switch between both, depending on who's on the pitch on the day. And I think we tried to do that in periods on Saturday, but at the wrong moments.
Mm.
It felt like it just needed one overseer on the pitch there who was able to go, right, now we execute this plan, now we execute that one. And maybe that was missing a little bit. At times we were just sending the forwards, trucking up over and over again when it wasn't on. And there was periods when that would have been a great option and we just didn't use it. So I think
Yeah.
there's just a little bit of soul searching to do, now in the final three games of the season and then in the off season and going into next year, just to try and work out who those leaders are. And we're really close, aren't we? We're close to being a quite a good team. I don't want to
Yeah.
say a league winning team, but quite a decent team. And we see many glimpses of that. But it's just last couple of weeks has felt like a bit of a blip, and
just
it's rocked my
off.
confidence a bit. But I'm
Yeah.
sure the boys can get back there. It's been a long season.
And if you think, if our results in the first half of the season had matched the second half of the season, we'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So we had a slow start to the year.
yeah,
And if you sort of balance that up, then they've done well to even get to the cusp of the playoffs as we have. I mean, I think the reality is we're probably going to miss out now unless results massively go with us the next few weeks and we win all three of our games, which is easier said than done as well. But I think,
yeah,
considering where we bottom but one coming into Christmas.
15th,
We've,
when we?
we've done well to keep in touch, I think, with the
yes,
top eight. And as you said, I'm really excited about a full season with Mark Jones having a pre-season with those
yeah.
players, a few new signings coming in potentially as well. Next season is a really exciting prospect, I think.
Yeah, because it's
I think
so easy to
so.
forget that he wasn't supposed to be coming in, was he? This was all last minute, sort of getting there and do a job, Mark,
Yeah.
with very little time to prep and get into that right sort of mental space. So, yeah, really exciting what he could do with adequate preparation, some of his own signings and selections and those sort of contributions, as well as just the full backing of, the backroom staff who that change from Toby would have caught everyone as surprised when they players, staff, everyone alike. So yeah,
Yeah, I think for me, harking back to the start of the season, I think it was a mistake to announce, and I said this at the time, I thought it was a mistake at the start of the season to announce that Toby was going. Kind of derailed us a little bit. But then obviously Mark Jones has come in and we can start seeing shoots of that different style of gameplay happening. So for me, I think wasn't it someone who said it's far easier to learn them how to defend than it is to get the changes in attack.
Yeah.
So for me, we were talking about this on Saturday. Get players back to fitness, get them back to good health, get them as fit as a butcher's dog. Make those sign-ins over the summer, shore up what we've got, so we're not in this position next year. Obviously, I was actually speaking to Sandy and Bosch off in the lounge afterwards, and I said, how are you feeling? Because obviously you've come off Curry Cup. You must be knackered. And it was like, yeah, it's been a long 12 months. So I think they're looking forward to a break because, again, I don't think they're at their full 100% at the minute, because 12 months doing that is hard physically, mentally, so get them to have a rest over the summer, because I really, really think, it will be, we're building something. And I think as fans, we've got to be a little bit patient with things like Saturday, because you could kind of see what they were trying to do. And if some of those passes had come off, then they would have been amazing passes. Like, look at that play where Spencer, scored. It just goes to show what you can do if it all clicks into place. Because when it started to get a bit loose, that's when we started seeing the handling errors, forward passes, and everything else. So I think it's just
some of those tries come off on the weekend, Sam. If those legs are a little bit fresher. Yeah, it was that close, wasn't it? At times.
Will Spencer running in clean air again was the highlight, I think, of Saturday. We haven't seen that for a while, have we? And it's just,
no.
I've said this before, seeing a second row in full flight like that is just a joy to behold, isn't it? So,
he's like a great big galloping giraffe. I love it.
Yeah.
So there were, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, because I do think there's some really battered bodies on the line. Jack was phenomenal as always, but he must be blowing at this point in the season, because of all the minutes that he's had. He's just been a phenom this season, hasn't he? So, we looked towards the second half that we were making a decent stab at coming back at it. But then, to be honest, I didn't see the last try because I got up and started to leave. But it did seem that, the scoreline, perhaps that scoreline flattered Cardiff a little bit. But, fair play to them. They came out, they could have quite easily mentally folded after everything that's gone on, which was what we were hoping for, let's be honest. But that didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, Cardiff played reasonably well, but I think overall, when you look at some of the other games over this weekend, it was quite a low quality game, really.
Yeah.
Probably a better quality than the second game we'll talk about later on, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think either team are quite where they need to be in terms of competing and that sort of top 4 or 5 in the URC currently. And I think that'll kind of, if Cardiff make it to the playoffs, I don't think they will, to be honest. I think they're going to struggle the next 3 matches, and I think they're going to ultimately miss out. But they're not at that level of your Munsters, your Stormers. They're not up there, and I think that will the next few games.
But Judgment Day around that, not a great crowd. More than last year, but then that's not surprising because we moved from Cardiff City Stadium. Quite like that Katie Bird that was DJing. I thought it was different from the usual bang, bang, bang house music, which I'm a fan of. But sometimes you want stuff that people can kind of sing along to.
I don't know. Me and Amy were having a good giggle at her. We didn't know who she was, whether they just grabbed somebody off the street and pushed them up there. But it was one of those DJ sets where they look like they're really doing a lot, but they're just sort of playing the song.
pressing buttons. I
All they're doing is like fading one into the other, but she constantly looked like she was
it's
being
not
busy and
you've
doing
got to
stuff.
time like I'm a bit of a snob since I saw Grandmaster Flash live, right? Um, I I saw Grandmaster Flash in a tent in a music festival in Venice, and he did a show at like I think it was midnight. Um, Absolutely banging. That man was juggling records, and when I mean records, I mean
Actual
vinyl.
record. Yeah.
He was amazing.
Well, it sounds like
Um,
Rod could have done a similar job with his iPod Shuffle, maybe from what you're saying on
Yes.
Saturday, maybe. So
but
yeah.
yeah, it was the electronic desks where everything's kind of done for you. Didn't mind the music choices. It kind of took me back to being much younger with like Chelsea Dagger and all of that. So I was having a bit of a thing, but um not gonna say it, but I am better than Navidi. Whatevs. Um,
Are you
but
better than Stickman Project though? That's the question.
I didn't see them.
Didn't you? You did not miss a thing. So leading up to it, I was, obviously after seeing them in the Six Nations, Wales,
Yeah,
England, okay, are they going to make a real show of this? Are they going to, quickly erect a stage on the pitch, close the roof because the roof wasn't open when we got there? And I
no
thought they got to be closing the roof because this performance
neon.
Yeah.
relies on the darkness. And they just didn't. They stuck them right up on the top stand somewhere. It was broad daylight. The angle that you were looking up at them on meant that all the stage and all their bits and bobs were in front of them. You couldn't see anything. It was the most
It's a bit
underwhelming
pointless.
performance ever. I, I, I can't imagine how much they paid them for it because it was a complete waste of money. Hopefully,
Well,
it was
someone
less
was
than the
like,
flower budget.
someone was, oh, I heard someone chanting, um, "You're just a shit blue man group, shit blue man group," and I was just laughing. Um,
I mean, I
but
don't know how the stadium looked live being sat in the stadium. On telly, it looked awful.
empty.
Just empty seats everywhere. It was about 10 minutes before kick-off and it looked like there was nobody there. And I think you just sort of filled up the last 10 minutes or so before the first game. And then when the first game finished to the second game, you could
It
just see
emptied.
gaps everywhere. And it was just a bad look for Welsh rugby. If you would just
But
Yeah.
happen to glance at your telly, you'd be like, why are they playing it there when there's nobody
I
there?
know
But
why.
truth be told, Mark, it didn't feel that bad. Certainly where I
No.
was down on the very bottom level, it didn't feel that bad. Obviously, if you
Top
look up,
emptied.
it was, yeah, completely empty. But when
Mm.
you were in amongst it, it didn't feel that bad. And it meant that you could get to the bar quickly and it didn't take you 30 minutes to order a pint and
Yeah, but it
and a
did cost you
bacon
nearly
butty.
20 quid for 2 pints.
Exactly. Pint of Guinness was £8.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it wasn't cheap in there. But
Well, I
No,
know the announced attendance was 28. It'd be interesting to see what the maximum amount of people were actually in their seats at any point during the afternoon, because it couldn't have
mm,
been more than about 20, I don't think, in their seats.
I would have stayed for the Dragons game. I would have stayed for the Dragons game. But the lads were drinking. I was like, it was expensive for like,
it was a
I was,
financial decision, was it,
it
to
was,
leave?
yeah,
Okay.
because it was costing like 50 quid for a round,
Yeah.
um, for like 5 pints and like a Pepsi for me. First
Yeah.
of all, Pepsi. Is Pepsi okay? Is Monopoly money okay? No, but I drank it anyway. Um, but it got to the point where it was like, do you know what? We could go. It was £1.80 a pint for Punk IPA in Brewdog, plus they had free vouchers to signing up on Saturday. So we made the decision to go to Tiny Rebel. We watched the second half of the Dragons game in there. If I was a Dragons fan, then yeah, I would have probably stayed, but no skin in the game. So, the boys made the decision that they were gonna go elsewhere for, I think it
Well,
was £6 something for a pint in Tiny Rebel, and it was much nicer.
you weren't the only one, Sam, because the atmosphere did drop off after that. Seats opened up, if we wanted to, we could have taken our choice of the seats in front of us
Yeah,
and just like moved down in the crowd. Um, because everything just opened up. It went from being quite chocker in our block to just f f more empty seats than filled ones. So that was a bit disappointing. Everybody was just chatting amongst each other during the second game, not really paying attention to the rugby. And I don't think the quality of the game helped that, did it? There was lots of stoppages. I know
Yeah,
we'll
I
get
was gonna
on to
say
that. But
I sort of didn't get to watch the second game live. I went off to my family Easter gathering after the Ospreys game, which mercifully had been put back to 5 o'clock. So at least I got to see our game first. But watched it back Saturday night when I got home, and yeah, it was such a poor quality game, wasn't it? Scarlets didn't play well at all. They were lucky to sneak the win at the end. I mean, we'll talk about it in the roundup later on, but
I thought that.
Dragons again were so unlucky that, well, I say unlucky, but they've done it week in, week out, and where they can't close out games. But the quality of that game was probably the worst quality game of the weekend, really.
mhm.
Very, very poor.
Yeah. So, mentioning URC roundup, Mark, do you want to do the do's?
Let's get into it then. Yeah, so let's start with that Dragon Scarlets game, and then seeing we've already started to talk about it. Yeah, as I said, really poor quality game. Dragons had the lead going into the last 10 minutes, as they have so many times this season, and just couldn't see it out. And the Scarlets got a couple of tries late on to win it. Keeps the Scarlet season alive. But again, like Cardiff, I can't see the Scarlets making the last eight. With the fixtures they've got left to finish the season. They got Leinster on Friday or Saturday, and then they got South African tour as well after that. So just don't think the Scarlets are a good enough team to make it to the last eight. That may
Yeah,
be
I
my
agreed.
Ospreys bias coming through big time, but I just think they just looked bang average Saturday again. Um, yeah, so not great, and especially when we'd seen really good games. Going back to Friday night, Edinburgh Sharks, Edinburgh 17, Sharks 18, was an absolute class game on Friday night. Again, Sharks flattered to deceive as they have often in an attacking sense when you see the players they've got out on the pitch. Their attack looked quite blunt again. But their defence was absolutely outstanding. Edinburgh were banging and banging and banging on the line constantly, and Sharks just kept on repelling them. Edinburgh will be kicking themselves. It was a real missed opportunity for them, and Sharks got the win with a last-minute Mapimpi try. He showed again how much of a shithouse he is. He sort of did the sort of taunting and stuff at the end with the Edinburgh players after he scored, and just came across a bit of a dick, really. But the Sharks got the win that they needed, puts them in prime position now for top four. But Edinburgh will be really disappointed with the amount of possession that they had,
Yeah,
that they couldn't get the win out of that one. I've been talking up the Lions over the last few weeks, and Lions have got 4 home games to go to the end of the season. They're probably gonna, win all four and get into the playoffs. And scored on Saturday, Lions 31, Benetton 42, and Benetton absolutely battered them. They played some fantastic rugby. You sort of start to feel if the Lions may well have blown their chances, the top eight possibly. Yeah, Benetton were rampant at times, scored 5 tries, sorry, really boosted their own playoff chances and fully deserved the win. So yeah, Lions have got a bit of soul searching to do with the next 3 games that they've got at home to come. Stormers are in a similar position to the Lions. They've got their 4 home games, including last weekend, and they started that with the 34-29 win over Connacht. Didn't see much of this one because my recording started midway through because the Scottish Cup semi-final had run to extra time and penalties or something. So half the game wasn't on. So I saw the second half of the game where there were hardly any points scored. But the Stormers had scored 3 great tries. I'm going to try his name. Sasha Feinberg Montezulu scored a hat-trick of tries. That's probably nowhere near the actual pronunciation of the name. I have looked back to the highlights, and yeah, an absolutely outstanding game on Saturday. 5 tries for the Stormers. But Connacht got 5 tries also and got the second losing bonus point. Again, Connacht are probably not going to make the playoffs. Take Stormers up to eighth place, and as you say, with their 3 home games left to go, you'd expect the Stormers to make the race to the 8 as well now. Munster 13, Bulls 16, real quality match, really bruising encounter, 2 good sides. I think Munster again will be disappointed that they couldn't get the win, but the Bulls just ground it out. They were 13-all going into the last 5 or 6 minutes. Bulls got a late penalty to win it. Sort of extinguished Munster's chances of getting to the last to the top four certainly. Still in a strong position to make the top eight, but yeah, the Bulls again defensively, a bit like the Sharks, were excellent, and I think that's where the South African team is beginning to show their teeth now, is sort of defensively that they're able to finish off teams and sort of just grind out results.
Bit of
No drama.
controversy around their ref, though, wasn't there?
There was, yeah, there was, and yeah, I think the occasion got him a little bit. Yeah, a few sort of decisions there that could have gone other ways, but and things that he didn't look at that maybe he should have looked at. But yeah, Bulls get the win, and they'll be delighted to get an away win in Munster. Not an easy place to go and grab a win. Dragon Scarlets we've talked about. Zebra Glasgow, yeah, weird game really. Zebra 6-0 up with two penalties at half time. Glasgow ground out the win with a couple of tries in the second half. Yeah, not much to say about it really. Glasgow hold on to second place. They've got the Bulls on Friday, which will be a shootout for second potentially. Yeah, but Glasgow will be glad to have got the win, I think, from that one. But yeah, nothing huge to report really on that one. Zebra were competitive as always. But Glasgow, it's all about the wins, isn't it, at this stage of the year? And Glasgow
Yeah,
came away with their 4 points. And then Leinster's reserve team were back on duty Saturday, and they trounced Ulster 41-17. Yeah, again, Leinster are able to rotate the squad. We've talked about it so many times over the season. Even in rotation, they can still put out 9 or 10 internationals on any given Saturday. And really, Ulster looked no match for them at all, really. Very, very dominant win by Leinster. Which, the table's beginning to take shape a little bit. I mean, it leads up to some cracking fixtures coming up this weekend. As you say, Glasgow Bulls could turn out to be a shootout for second on Friday. Cardiff Munster, sixth against seventh. On Friday night as well is a big one for Cardiff. I think Munster will probably make the playoffs regardless of that one, but I think Cardiff probably need to win that game on Friday. Stormers eighth against Benetton fifth on Saturday. I think if Benetton can repeat the kind of performance they put up against the Lions, they've got a chance there, but you'd expect the Stormers to come through. Scarlets Leinster, lots of Scarlets fans crowing about it. It's their biggest game in years on Friday, or Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure. They're hoping to sell out Parker Scarlets, and have one last push for the playoffs. I would fully expect Leinster's reserves, youth team, C team, whatever you want to call them, to go and do the number on the Scarlets on Friday and hopefully extinguish their playoff hopes. It's sad, isn't it, now that we're out of the running, that I'm now hoping that no other Welsh region makes it to the playoffs either this year, which is quite sad, really, and very, very petty of me as well. But that's just the kind of guy I am. And then Ulster 10th against the Sharks, in fourth. I think it's Ulster's last chance to make a push as well. They have to get a win this weekend as well to have any chance of making the playoffs. So yeah, things are beginning to take shape a little bit in the race for the eight. I think we're probably out of it, but Cardiff and Scarlets have got massive, massive games in the weekend if they are going to make it. But yeah, good weekend of games, and I think every weekend now there's something riding on nearly every game.
So I know we'll
yeah,
chat about Dragons specifically, but how do we approach the rest of the season now? Obviously, sorry, I got hair in my mouth. As fans, we expect a performance every game, but do they subtly just start maybe giving the youngsters a bit of game time now in preparation for next season? Do we start
why
playing things
not?
a bit more tactically, looking
I think we
ahead
have
for
to. I think we have
yeah,
to rotate Saturday, don't we? We can't expect those
yeah.
players who've played the last 3 weeks to come out and put in a performance for the fourth week running. So there has to be an element of recovery
There's
for
got to
some
be a
of these
rest
players,
there.
especially with the South
Um,
African tour, unless they hammer them this weekend and then leave half them at home for the tour at the end of the season.
To be
yeah,
honest, I have selected my team for against the Dragons on the weekend, and I have rotated a few names, and that's not based out of the need for them to, be rotated and rested, but more based on the quality of some of the players that came off the bench against Cardiff. I
Mm.
thought a few
yeah.
people put their hands up. Um,
Steve's is
Will
back as well.
Spencer,
He was in training.
Years back,
yeah.
is it? Yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
was
Yeah, by the lot.
disappointed that he wasn't playing last Saturday, where he could have done with his energy
We could have.
Saturday, which was very, very much missing, and hopefully he'll be back Saturday and bring that
Yeah,
out.
Yeah. Mm.
So who have you picked for Saturday then, Rod?
So, well, you just named one of them in there with Deevesy. So
Have you got
I
Aussie playing as well?
no,
Ozzy was at a signing today.
that's
Oh, I did see
biased.
that. Yeah.
The players were in Macron signing, and Ozzy also got to go as well. My boy.
Okay. So I've rotated both props with the understanding that they could then, the two older heads could come on at either 40 minutes or 60 minutes
60
whenever they're
minutes,
needed
yeah.
and just wind that game out. But I think Garen Phillips has looked massively impressive
He did
the
well
last
on
few weeks
Saturday.
coming off the
Yeah.
bench. I think he's ready to begin starting more regularly. Ben Warren, a little bit less so, but still a lot of, promise. I think he'll struggle a little bit more being thrust into that starting position. But, he's 6 months to 18 months behind Garen Phillips in that sense. I'd stick with Dewi because
It's
he's had
game
a lot of
time.
time off this season. He should be one of the more energetic tight five members there. In the second row, I've stuck with James Fender, but I've subbed in Will Spencer. I think that the few games that he started a couple of months ago, he looked mightily impressive and was unlucky to lose his starting place again.
Yeah.
To well, a British and Irish Lion who came back from injury. Can't really complain there. But based on his performance on the weekend, I think he deserves to jump up.
So I'm now
Um,
preempting. Have you moved Ratty to six then in that case?
So I have got James Ratty slash Stevesy at six because uh, they're two very different players, but I think it's both of their best positions in a sense. Do we want the grunt of Ratty or do we want the energy of Deevesy is the question, and who would
I
be
love
more
my boy
effective coming off
Ratty.
the bench? You'd go for Ratty, would you, Sam?
I would, yeah.
See, I'd be tempted actually to have Deevesy start in high energy and then to bring
And then bring Ratty on with
Ratty
a cool
on.
head.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if Deeves could do like a Luke Skywalker Yoda thing on Saturday and play at seven and have Tipuric just on his back that he can carry him around all game.
I
That
think you're going to
is the
say the
most
other way
fucking
around.
random thing I've heard all day.
I don't know where that idea just suddenly came from, and I don't know why I said it out loud either, but I just suddenly thought, yeah, you can just carry him around just so he gets on the pitch
On
for
a
his last
backpack.
match.
Okay. Uh, not the strangest thing I've heard this week, but yeah, okay.
Carrying on with the back row. So yeah, Ratty or Deeves at six, and then I've stuck with Jack Morgan and Morgan Morse at seven and eight. I think
Morse was good on Saturday, wasn't he? Thinking about
Yeah,
positives. He was
yeah,
everywhere, wasn't he, for the first 60 anyway? He was
yeah.
excellent. Yeah.
And like any young player, has his moments where he looks a bit raw, but those are the kind of traits that you want to be harnessing and just channeling in the right direction, not stamping out. So um, it's nice to see those things, isn't it? I'd rather a player be a bit overzealous than
wild.
tentative in how they conduct themselves about the pitch. So yeah, he looks phenomenal. We all know his class, and we all know the ceiling that he's got above him as well. He's got so much growth left in him. Um, so into the back line, I have switched to Kieran Hardy. I'd just like to see them both be a bit more competitive and pitted against each other a bit more. I think we've just picked one and stuck with one until one's injured, then rotated them, then that one gets a bit of form. I think maybe we should almost start as cruel as it is, playing them off each other. Right,
Mm.
have a couple of games. Okay, you were a little bit off. You have a couple of games and tell me why you should be starting, because that's how you drive
Yeah.
excellence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I almost had
I'd
a
be.
punch up over Ruben on Saturday.
How come?
That no arms tackle. Cardiff lad in front of me turned to me and was rugby incident. It's like that.
Oh,
No, it was naughty. Really fucking naughty. I
yeah.
was just like, but I was a bit aggy Saturday, a bit hooliganish.
Yeah, as you should be. Um, So I've stuck with Dan Eds as main playmaker. I think he just need to stick with him for confidence sake. Just
Mm-hmm.
give him that assurance. I have stuck with Giles and Cassende on the wing, even though I do believe both of them need a rest. Maybe this is the week for it. But I'm not too sure who I'd rotate in and out
I say
there.
Convian must be chomping at the bit, mustn't he?
He's
Yeah.
desperate for a goal, but it's just he's kept out. He's fully fit. He's just been kept out because of
Mm.
performances.
Well, maybe this is the week then.
Bring
I'd
him
rather
back.
him prove himself and have an opportunity now before we go out to South Africa. So who would we switch him in for, Giles or Kasende?
Giles, I'd be tempted to. I think Asende looks a bit more energetic. Giles has looked maybe a bit more tired. I don't know, maybe just
Yeah,
under the service, but
Yeah. You could argue that Kasende's had a longer season, but he
yeah,
doesn't look like he has, does he? He's just so full of energy.
yeah.
oh, he's just
When he's at
lash.
90%, he's through the roof and he's bouncing off the walls. So
And that's no
uh,
slight on Giles at all, but if he's rested
no,
for the South Africa tour when he's on the hard grounds, then out there where he could really, really thrive.
yeah. Plus, everybody
Yeah,
responds differently to the fatigue and the sort of physical endurance needed to complete the season, doesn't it? Like, some people need
sometimes you
a couple of
just need a
breaks.
rest.
Some people go 100 miles an hour and then just really appreciate, a couple of months off in the off season, and that's all the
Yeah,
recharge they need. So,
Yeah.
different strokes. Um, in the centre field, I have switched Keith out for Cockney just knowing that we're going to need, you know, some endurance going into South Africa, our away trip, just rotating one of those out there. And we're not spoilt for choice because I think Boshoff's preferred position is outside centre almost
yeah.
exclusively. And then Phil and Keith are both inside. So there's not a lot of flexibility there unless we bring somebody like Owen Williams in.
And Keith must be absolutely battered. I mean, he's been a battering ram for the last 2 weeks, isn't he? Cardiff and Leon. His body must be in bits after those 2 weeks.
That's what I
Can
was
I
thinking.
just say as well, when I was speaking to his mum and dad on Saturday, his mum said that he was such a little hunger muffin when he was younger. She threatened to put a lock on the fridge. And
Oh,
he's
really?
always been a bruiser. Yeah. She's like, at one point, I thought I was going to have to put a lock on the fridge. Um, the other thing that his mum has in common with me is that she has also got a brother who rips the shit out of her.
Hmm,
So sympathise, but both sets of parents really lash.
great. And then guess who's at 15?
Jack
Is it
Walsh.
Jack Walsh by any chance?
He's
Easy
not that
price
big
then.
in real life.
No?
No, no. Um, no. We were all sort of like, thought he'd be bigger
Hmm.
for someone who's not that big. But I gotta say, he got beautiful hair and he's got beautiful teeth. Like
I
he
was going to
proper
say
look
the hair
like
adds 2
that.
inches, Sam.
Yeah, his hair's amazing. But
I think looking
yeah,
forward to next year, 15 is somewhere where we need a bit of strength things in it because Walsh
mm,
cannot play every single game as he pretty much
no,
has this year. We're going to
No.
absolutely kill him. So, yeah.
And I think we know that Najee, as good as he is susceptible to an off game.
Yeah.
The one that happened recently wasn't the first time. I think he is more of a ease back into fitness type player, isn't he? He
Mm.
seems to be
he's
anyway.
injured
Yeah,
such a lot that it's hard to get him back in the swing of things. Now
yeah.
he's a tall boy,
Yeah.
Mm.
really tall.
Yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
came to like you on him. I was like,
But yeah, that was my selection. Any disagreements?
no, I
What do you
like
think
that.
of the front row switching out both the props? It's risky, but if you've got the older heads on the bench, there's no reason why you can't bring them on after 30 minutes if you really, really need to. So
Yeah.
you've got that sort of safety blanket.
What we got to lose at this point in the season,
Yeah,
like absolutely nothing. Give it
I
a
yeah,
think
whirled
Jack's
off
the only one.
peppers.
I think Jack's the only one for me potentially that I may rest. Thinking ahead to the summer as well with the Lions tour.
mm,
I'd be
Yeah, I
tempted to
wasn't thinking
play.
about that.
I'd be tempted to play Ratty and Deves at flankers. Have Jack on the bench, bring him on if we need him.
yeah.
But he's going to have a tough June and July ahead of him, hopefully as well if he gets picked, which surely he will. I'd be tempted to give him a rest now, or just not take him to South Africa for the last 2 games, possibly.
I know he's an Osprey, and I know we all love him. Anybody who currently thinks that he is not the best seven in the UK at the moment is tapped in the fucking head. Let's be honest.
Mm.
Like even we had like fans from all the regions around us, and even the cockeyed optimist would have struggled to say that he's not phenomenal. Like he is amazing.
I tell you who's
Um,
put their hand up big time as well the last few weeks has been Jamie Ritchie.
he has,
He's properly back in form. He's bang in form at the minute, and yeah, it's going to be hard to leave him at home.
yeah,
I think he's in the
um,
form of his career. I don't think he's ever been this good. Even when he was at his previous career best, didn't rate him that highly. He looks a different beast now, doesn't he?
Really
yeah,
does.
yeah.
What's
He did look
happened?
good. He did look good. So I think it's going to be a big one on Saturday. Obviously, um, we've seen the last of Tips. Sorry, James Squidge. Yes, and don't mean to depress you, but we've seen the last of Tips playing due to his pec injury.
Devastating.
Um, so, really, really gutting with regards to that. Think he's due a big send off on Saturday. Heard some rumours that some blue scrum caps have been printed for people to have on. Now, I don't look too good with stuff like that. I look like a potato. So I may have one on for a comedy picture for Instagram, but I don't think I'll be keeping it on for the whole match because I do look like a potato.
This
Um,
Wade showed me his the other day, and it's I don't think they were made to look good.
I, yeah, but I'm a bit vain, so can we do you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that would be interesting. Um, Big announcements today as well is I suppose this drifts us seamlessly into news, really, because normally we record on a Tuesday, but Rod's not feeling too well. I had a stinker of a headache yesterday, so we delayed until today. But thank God we did, because some big announcements today. So Adam Beard is off to White Montpellier. I nearly said Wife Beaters United then, allegedly. Um, but Adam Beard's off to Montpellier. He did have some lovely things to say about the club, and there is an element out there that perhaps doesn't always acknowledge or see the hidden work that he does on the field. So I think he's going to be a big loss. But he said I grew up being an Ospreys fan, and I was lucky enough to have come through the academy and then progressed to the first team. I've had lots of conversations with my family, friends, and the coaches, and feel like this is the right time to venture into a new challenge for myself. This is a special place that has played a hugely important role in where I am as a player and a person today. Now, that's really nice. He is a product of what coming through those academies can mean to someone. It's his childhood club, and he is an unsung hero on the pitch. It is naive of people to say that he doesn't do anything. I think we'd all, wish him, well
Yeah.
with regards to going away. The reality is the French clubs can afford to pay big dollar. You can't blame them for going. It's a lovely life for them and their family. Um, you know, as long as you do the Ronan O'Gara embrace the pigeon French. Dan Bigger's gone out there and really, really loved it. Um,
And
we
he's only 29. There's every possibility that he could be back playing at St. Helens in 3 or 4 seasons' time.
Yeah.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility, is it? Because a little part of me feels really sad that he's not going to get that experience, and I'm sure it was
yeah,
part of his consideration when making the move is how close they are as a squad to get into a new ground, and it feels like an opportunity for a new start, and I'm sure he would have wanted to be part of
yeah,
that. So I don't think it'll be goodbye forever.
no,
I think one
we'll
of the
just stay
most
on wow.
Yeah, I think one of the most underappreciated players in Welsh rugby, I think, over the past decade. He's
Yeah.
taken so much stick and so much criticism, and yet we've seen in the recent Welsh matches, when he's not part of that pack, the Welsh pack don't look the same beast without him. We've seen the
Mhm.
same with our pack this season, that when he's not there, he just brings that organization, he brings that quality, that experience
Quiet man.
to situations, defensively in maul defense, he's always in the middle of that constantly, which is his job to do at the end of the day. But,
Yeah,
he's done that to a high quality over the last decade. And he absolutely be sorely missed, not just for us. I mean, I know he will still be playing for Wales. Hopefully they'll still be
yeah.
selecting him. But a huge, huge loss for us as a club, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, cheer him goodbye on Saturday. Bye bye, Beardy.
Mhm.
When I was doing my notes for this, then I wrote down Ryan Smith being looked at as a replacement, and then lo and behold, just before we start recording, um, the Ospreys PR team with yet another video. And I did admit to the lads before coming on you, I've never seen Dumb and Dumber. So the lads knew that it was Dumb and Dumber. But Ryan Smith has joined. Now, Mark and I have watched a bit of Super Rugby, and we like the cut of his jib. He's had a bit of a banger of a season so far for Queensland Reds. So 6 foot 6 inch lock, 69 appearances for the Reds. Was picked in the Wallabies training squad by Joe Schmidt back in June. And he's also made 6 appearances for Australia A. So he's not had a full Australian cap, but don't think he was far off it. I don't think his little highlights reel on the end of that PR video for Ospreys shows just how phenomenal. I use that word such a lot. How amazing he is as a player and how good he's been for the Reds and some of the tries that he scored. So I'm quite excited for that signing.
Yeah, I mean, having seen him play, I have to say he wasn't on my radar before he started being linked with us at the beginning of the season. So I've
Yeah,
been paying more attention to Queens and Red games this season than I ever have before. But he's an absolute workhorse. He's a big lad. He carries really, really well. Defensively, turnovers and stuff. He seems to be around everywhere on the pitch. He seems to be a very,
yeah,
very work heavy player, which is
effective
what we need.
He's not
operator,
a like for like replacement of Beard, then it sounds like
Not
he's
at
not
all, I wouldn't say.
necessarily a
No.
line out
night and
operator.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
okay.
more of a ball carrier, more
Yeah,
sort of
More of an Etzebeth than a Beard.
yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
kind of mold probably,
And
yeah.
big
he's got
time.
a cracking Aussie moustache, which
But quality signing,
He's Aussie. He looks like an Aussie.
looks Aussie, doesn't
If I
he?
could
Yeah.
describe what an Aussie fella looks like, he's got, again, gonna sound like crazy, beautiful hair, lovely teeth, really nice tash. You could learn a lot from that tash, Rod. You could learn a lot.
Wears old style tape around his head as well.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
that. Freaking love it.
Yeah.
No, I think we
Nothing
all
wrong
like his kind of player, don't we? We all like
with
him
a bit
bruised.
of bandage and a little bit of electrical tape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's old school, that is.
looks the
I'm
part.
there for it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of the signing news. The other thing that I've read is that Jake Ball is apparently coming back from Japan and going to sign for Scarlets. I know that's not related to us, but it's still news.
It's
Ospreys have
quite a
announced that they're pre-planning and have gone in for the St Helens.
Mm.
So have a good look at those because there's loads of pictures and bits and bobs on there.
Yeah. Some new
Um,
schematics on there that
yeah,
are really nice to look at, and that if you're willing to sort of pick through it, show a lot more information that hasn't been sort of released yet, like specific seat numbers in each of the stands. I think they come to a total of about 8,400 seats it'll be across the four stands. So yeah, take a look at that. It's quite interesting.
don't pretend you
I
haven't
can't
counted every
wait.
single seat, Rod. Now, come on. We know you.
One by one, by eye. Didn't even use a
Again, um,
by
I
abacus.
I've actually made a big decision next year. I'm probably not going to go for hospitality. I'm probably going to go for the best seat ticket that I can get and mingle with
Mhm.
the plebs in the fam zone. And I'm only saying plebs because I love plebs as the comedy series. I love that.
I'm a pleb. Come pleb about with me.
And
We can all be plebs
absolutely,
together.
I love it. I love you.
You're going to be
I love
seated
Mark.
though. in St Helens, not the terrace, right?
I'm not going to be on a terrace
No.
because I'm old. Um,
See, I'm older than you, Sam, and that's actually what I'm looking forward to the most is standing on the terrace again,
Yeah.
which I've really
right.
missed.
Rod is sat next to me. I'm a fucking idiot. I don't need to be on a terrace. If it was going to be anywhere, I'd probably be in the sin bin, but I don't fancy being behind posts. I
No.
think,
No,
you
me
know,
neither.
realistically speaking, the sin bin is probably my religious home, um, with the students and the lunatics. But I'm going to go to the main stand. If I win the lottery, lads, and they put those tunnel executive seats in,
Yeah.
I'll get us one of those. Right?
Mhm.
If I win the lottery, big time. Um, but I'm quite looking forward to it. Um, and again, just being able to have that interaction. You know, I love Rod, I love his dad, I love it when he brings Amy. So it'll be nice to do that. And if what they're doing with the fan zone works with the big screens and everything else, then I think I would rather that than a lounge experience. Um, I just can't wait to like get my season ticket now. I just can't like I want to be able to pick it, and we're all gonna the group that we've got, we're all gonna try and sit together again, and because for me that is my squad, like, um, but um, let's talk about my kick-in on Twitter, shall we?
Oh,
News
yeah.
of the rumor of Tandy being um, touted as head coach for Wales. Now, I'd love to say I posted something really controversial, but I didn't. I literally said that I thought that, well, if the Welsh Rugby Union truly are going to appoint Tandy as head coach, then they have once again shown utter lack of vision and ambition. This was their chance to be truly groundbreaking and build for the future, but once again, they appear to have royally fucked it. That tweet is polarising, lads.
Yeah. What a reaction you've had.
Wow. Jesus Christ. Um,
I just never knew Tandy had so many family and friends onto Twitter before.
I
It's mad.
literally have had a kick in more than any other kick in I've ever had. Um, I was told to wind my neck in. I was called love. I was called woman. I was like, at one point, I responded to this guy and I went, what was it about my tweet that A, made you call me love, and B, thought it was okay for you to tell me to wind my neck in? That is probably one of the least controversial things I've ever
Yeah.
said on Twitter. Like literally. Um, there was a lot of love for it. I'm not gonna lie. It's had like over 200 likes or whatever, 22,000 views. Like that's
It's all
insane.
good publicity, Sam.
It's all good, right?
No publicity
Um,
is bad publicity, is it? So
No.
Look, I'm never not going to support Wales. I, that's not going to happen. I've been there through the good, the bad, the ugly, through thick, through thin. I've been through it all, right? I'm even booking to go to Dublin next year for the Six Nations, right? I'm never not going to support them. So the criticism that I make is from a good place. I would like us to see us do something innovative. When people are saying, "Oh, perhaps he's the only person that's going to take on the job," for me, I don't agree with that because we're crap. What has an international coach got to lose by coming in and coaching us?
Well, we
Because
know
their
that others
reputation's
expressed
not going to be
interest.
tinted.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not like he's the only one. Pat Lam was
No,
interested.
Pat
You know,
Lamb, Franco Smith,
yeah,
Easterby.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
I think what
Um,
fries my brain the most with this, if it's Tandy, it's Tandy. We're gonna have to live with that. But it's the
yeah,
whole process that they've
Yeah.
promised they're going to go through of appointing the director. The director is part of the process of appointing the coach. what we now seem to be in a position is that they were going to appoint a director, which is now seems to have had some pushback from within the union on that appointment. So they've delayed that, and now they're jumping ahead to potentially appointing the head coach before the director. Um, and it's just everything that they say they're going
Us
to do
backwards again.
just goes ass backwards, and that's a bit that fries my brain. Why say these things publicly to then go back on them and do totally the opposite thing?
Yeah, like
Um,
it
you know,
confuses
and
me.
and they just give too
oh, sorry.
much time for things to fester and for stories to sort of just like fester and people to become polarized on an issue. I think, but both of what the two of you have said plays into what the biggest issue with this is for me. Because I sat down earlier on today and I did a Steve Tandy pros and cons list, and I got 5 points on each side, and they both balance each other out. But I think the most sort of poignant one, if you want to call it that, on the cons list that I came up for him was just the fan skepticism, the fact that there is now this rift, and
Mhm.
50% of the fans out there are team Tandy and the others are team
Team
anyone
not.
else.
Yeah.
And now there's that division before he's even started.
The
That's the
union,
issue here. I'm
yeah, the
sure he
union
can do
have
a
to
job.
sell these appointments to us somehow, haven't they? You know,
Yeah, they're not doing that, are
no,
they? They're not selling it.
no, it isn't. They're not going to keep the whole fan base happy, whatever they do. Whoever they appoint to
Yeah,
both of these roles, not everybody's going to be happy with it. But what they've got to try and do is put a spin on it that these are the positive appointments that we need. But
Yeah.
instead, we've got sort of half-assed rumors about it's going to be him, it's going to be her. There's pushback against him, there's pushback against them, whatever. And there's nothing come from the union at all, as far as I know, directly since the Collier Keyword Teeny interview, where they said they were going to appoint the director within 4 or 5 days and then the coach soon after. That's the last public statement that's been made. And then there's all these rumors flying around, and it probably will be Redding and Tandy when it comes down to it, when it all boils down to it. But why not just come out and say that that's the case?
Yeah.
Put everything to bed, stop all the sort of speculation and all the Twitter beef that everybody's getting and the
nonsense.
grief that you've had about it this week and everything, Sam, as well. Just tell everybody where they're at with this appointment. Are they anywhere near making it? Are they having second thoughts? Are they going to put it back out to advertise again or whatever they're going to do? Just be transparent about it.
Yeah, and show part of the decision-making process, isn't it?
Yeah,
Why was this guy the right choice? Because half of us aren't convinced here. Convince us.
yeah,
Show us
and
the
it's
your pros and cons list, and maybe come out and talk about the
yeah
different options that you had and how those weighted against each other, because that would reveal so much, and it would at
because
least help people understand. You don't have to agree, but you can understand.
yeah, loads of people have come out to say he's a great guy and he's this, that, and the other. Nobody's disputing that.
Yeah.
You could be the greatest guy in the world, but you might not be the right fit for it. He was very much thrust into the spotlight when with Ospreys at the age of 32. You know, there are elements of that reign that did not go well. He had Galacticos there at the time. So people are like, oh, yeah, we were this, we were that, we were the other. The reality is, he won one bit of silverware in the 6 years that he was there. And other than that, we were sitting around fourth, fifth place, not getting very far in the European competitions and everything else. Do we want to thrust someone? Okay, he's been defence coach with Scotland. He did quite well when he went down uh, to Australia. And yeah, he is a really, really nice bloke. But the reality is, we need somebody who's going to come in and is going to be able to control the narrative of the team and perhaps isn't finding their feet in a head coach role. Because the reality is, we've got a World Cup in 2 years' time. We
Yeah.
don't want to be scratching around for someone to find their feet. We need to be hitting the ground
Mm.
running.
To
And
play devil's
that's
advocate.
my concerns and
Yeah.
reservations.
Yeah, yeah. And I share that. And I'm just trying to think, what would um the other side be saying? What is the counter? And I guess you could argue that, he had his formative crack at being a head coach and it was mixed, as most of these first attempts are. He's since gone away and he's reassessed and he's continued to ply his trade for a number of years with more success in more junior roles. But has that allowed him the space to sort of reflect on his first attempt at a head coach role, and start implementing some of those ways of working into his current defensive roles? And will he come back stronger for it? Potentially.
Could
Um,
be. We won't know. I
yeah,
think for me, the beauty of like my money would have been Franco Smith, just to the chagrin of John, just purely because of what he put in place when he was in Italy and what's playing fruition now,
Yeah.
because he's learned those lessons with Italy. He can put something into space, but we're all armchair critics at the end of the day. But I will give my usual plea that I always give. If somebody posts something on Twitter, it's your decision whether you respond to it or not. If you don't like someone's opinion, just scroll on. Like, just move on. Or I've had some really fruitful discussions around this with people
Mm.
on Twitter and some really good conversations, and I don't mind that in the absolute slightest. Um, where you kind of lose me then is when you're getting a bit argy with me and calling me love and woman. Like, have a conversation with me, talk about it, ask me why I've come to that decision, or ask me whatever else. Just don't give me a kick in for the sake of like, I got broad shoulders. I couldn't give a shit. Like, if you're waiting for me to care, then take a seat with the other people outside my house waiting for me to give a flying one, because it's not going to happen. Like, unless you pay to put like a roof over my head, food in my belly, or clothes on my back, like, you don't mean anything. Like, it doesn't bother me. But have like a friendly discussion about it, because like we've had now, you've given me food for thought by playing devil's advocate and saying perhaps he's learned the hard way, kind of thing. But we'll see how it plays out. I thought, nobody wants him to rush anything, but I would have thought that something would have come out by now about director of rugby and everything else. The other interesting thing over the week as well is about um, the PRA not being signed. Um, and the more I looked at it and the more I read about it, I was like, don't sign. They
No.
haven't actually been given a full copy of the PRA to review before signing it. And one of the big unanswered questions is, you're giving this amount of money to Cardiff, what are we getting?
Mm.
Because I'm not being funny. I want to know that we're going to be equal. I don't want to be the ginger stepchild at Christmas who's having like lesser than anywhere else. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Scarlets and Dragons fans feel exactly the same. So do you know what? You can bully and you can give your deadlines to get people to sign. But if it's not right and you're not being open and transparent, which again is communication with the WRU, which lets them down time and time again,
Mhm.
of course they're not going to sign it. They're not daft.
No.
yeah.
And as much as they want to sell that the Cardiff situation doesn't change it, of course it does. It has to. They now own Cardiff. It has to change it, and it's quite right that the other
You've
regions
got
have
to
got
reflect.
questions to ask, which may be different than they were 4 weeks ago. And possibility, well, strong possibility is that the other regions knew what was coming with Cardiff a few weeks or months beforehand, probably, and probably could have foreseen some of this. But the union can't expect anybody to sign anything that's not actually there in black and white for them to see, and when there's no detail for what they're actually signing up for. And as you say, it's the usual kind of, well, if they don't sign this, then blah blah blah. Everybody's got to look after themselves in this world at the end of the day. If the Ospreys signed that and ended up losing out because of it, they're answerable to the fans at the end of the day.
Fans,
And
yeah.
yeah,
As a lawyer, I would never advise anybody to sign anything without reading the terms and conditions in the small print.
Without
You
saying.
just wouldn't.
Yeah. It's due
So why are you
diligence.
expecting a multi-million-pound business to do that?
yeah.
Well, we know that WRU aren't that familiar with rigorous due diligence processes, so
Oh,
maybe they just were presumptuous and thought that the regions would do the same as well. And oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Why?
good.
Yeah, let's just sign.
Oh,
Let's
they've
just
got a
sign.
different due diligence
Yeah.
contractor than the WRU, one that actually does their job.
It's
But
just another
yeah,
week though where the union have it's just it's one from one shit show to the other, isn't it? This week we've
It
got the
is.
coach situation, we've got the PRA, we've got the Skywalk, which apparently they're going to have to sell off
They're going
because
to
they've not
scrap.
made a penny apparently since they've started it. It's just one thing after the other, isn't it? You couldn't make it up. And
Just
in the meantime, the
absolutely
product on the pitch
bombing.
is what we all are here for. It just continues to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, it just beggars belief, really. It really, really does.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But has anybody else got any news that perhaps I've not mentioned or not thought of?
The only thing I've got is in terms of the URC TV rights remaining on Premier Sports for
Oh,
those
yes.
3 years. Which my first reaction, I have to be honest, was great. It's the cheapest of the pay channels. So I was thinking about my pocket. But then when you start thinking about the greater context of that in terms of publicity for the game in Wales, because there's going to be a reduced package in terms of free to air, which means the BBC Wales are going to have no games at all, it seems. S4C are going to
Yeah,
have a reduced package for what they're showing now. So for your everyday armchair fan that's not willing to stump up the extra 12 quid or whatever it is a month for Premier Sports, their interest in the game is going to wane.
Mhm.
And I think that's the worry as much as, yeah, okay, we've got a product that we can watch 151 games or whatever it is a season for £11 a month or whatever it's going to be. But the greater picture is more of a concern, I think, in terms of
yeah,
your kind of casual fan, and not going to get to see regional rugby anywhere near as much as they are currently.
Yeah. Mm.
yeah.
Final one from me as well, and it's less news and more a brag and a plug for the OITC. Wait,
Oh, here
OIT.
we go.
So for anyone who isn't part of the community lottery, where you can pay 5 to 20 quid a month towards the OITC, the Ospreys in the community, um, they do monthly or weekly draws. I'm not sure the regularity of those draws, but I got a call from Neil Navarra earlier on today, and I have won this week hospitality for the Dragons game. So that's 2 hours of schmoozing leading up to the game and food and a box during the game and player meets and stuff like that. So, I've only been donating to the OITC for probably about a year now. I recently upped my contribution within the last month from 5 to 10 quid, and yeah, I've won this amazing sort of prize. So I'm over the moon with that. It's going to be a nice way to sort of wind up the season. So I
God
just
will be
wanted to
above
share that with
me.
everyone, so that more people sign up because they do amazing work, don't they?
We'll
Um,
pop a link on for how you
yeah,
can join up because we do it as well.
yeah.
And they do some amazing things in the community.
No
Um,
longer a player abroad.
No
but
longer, no,
I'm
no.
gonna
I'm
be the pleb
royalty now.
now on
I'm going to be looking
Saturday. Bod's
down
gonna
on
be like
Sam in
this, and I'm gonna
earnest.
be like this. Um, but
So I've got my I bought my blue scrum cap because I'm hoping to bump into Tipuric, even though we might not see him out on the pitch. I expect him to be, around and about for the last home fixture, just mingling. So yeah, I bought myself the exact blue scrum cap that he wears. I had to look on recent photos to obviously they stripped the logo off the front, don't they? So I had to try and identify this scrum cap without knowing the brand that it was from. But I've ordered the exact one, and hopefully I can get him to sign the oval in the middle of the forehead for me.
oh my God, but I'm gonna be brave enough to go up to him and get it signed.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I'll say I saw you the other day in Clydach crossing the road, and that'll be
Hi,
my ice.
mate, look at my t-shirt. Um, make sure you've got like good quality Sharpies with you.
Yes.
Um, but that then brings us to the rando. Now, I saw a TikTok today which made me laugh because if you do something to me, I'm a bit of a petty Polly. My pettiness knows no bounds, like none at all. So I love being petty. Scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm a solid 9.5, right? This took petty to a whole other level. She was a guy in America his, and I'm using their words, baby mama asked for money for his kids to have shoes. So we gave the money for the shoes, picked his kid up, said, "Oh, what new, what new shoes did you get out of the money?" So he was like, "I haven't got new shoes." So he's like, "But I gave your mother money for the shoes. Why didn't she bought you new shoes?" So he rings the mother and he's like, why haven't you bought the kids shoes, like? So she's like, "Oh, my boyfriend's dad has passed away and we're trying to get money together for the cremation and everything else." Now, petty level one, he goes to the funeral home, pays for the dad to be cremated, gets the ashes, and says to her, "I've got the ashes, you can have the ashes when you buy my kid my shoes out of the money that I gave."
Oh,
Now that is petty, right? This goes on another level. She then comes back and says, "Well, I can't because my mum's passed away now and I need to try and get money together to create my mum." He goes and has the mum created at the funeral home and holds her ashes ransom as well. She's like, "Once you buy both my kids' shoes, you can have your parents' ashes." Now, that is petty extraordinaire. And I just love it. And someone asked me the other day, if you could wish bad on anybody, what would you wish? And I wasn't like really bad. I just wish them that if they ever go into a shop and they see something that they like, that they can never get it in their size or order it online, because that would just be super annoying. So how petty are you, lads? And how far would you go to be petty back?
Oh, I think I've been quite elaborate in my pettiness over the years, but nothing's jumping to mind. But I do like a little plot and a scheme, especially when I was younger and I wasn't getting my way. Uh, but nothing's coming immediately to mind. I mean, I do remember one thing, and I know that my mom listens to this pod, but I'm pretty sure she knows this already. If not, I'm gonna get a backhand to the face next time she sees me. But
Bless your
I
mum.
remember one time when we were arguing when I was a kid, 13, 14, and I think she like not grounded me, but told me I couldn't go out or something. So I thought, oh well, you're not going out as well then. And what I went and did was I popped the bonnet of her car and I disconnected the terminal from her battery so that if she ever tried getting in the car, it just wouldn't start. Um, Obviously, don't do this at home, kids, if there are any kids
Yeah,
watching,
don't,
because
don't.
you're fiddling with electrics and high voltage stuff, and it could end really badly. And I'm lucky it didn't really, because I sort of knew what I was doing, but not massively. I was sort of working it out as I went along. Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty damn petty, isn't it? Going in and
Oh, I'm
modifying the
petty.
electrics of someone's car.
And I'm really good at malicious compliance as well. So I will do what you tell me to the letter, but only what you tell me. And I will do it with a smile. So you can't do anything to me. You can't get me in trouble, but I'll be an awkward bastard. Really, really bad. How petty are you, Mark?
do you know, I don't think I am at all. I mean, look at his face. I'm
I
just too
wouldn't say.
forgiving. If somebody does something to me, then it's kind of, oh yeah, whatever, I'm sure you didn't mean it. Um, I honestly can't think of anything. I mean, I
I
could
am
be
not
really,
Jesus. I'm
I
not going
could
to
be really
forgive or
petty with the
forget.
kids in school if I wanted to. I could sort of make their lives quite difficult for all the
I was going to say,
stuff that
have you
they've
ever
got to
given a
do.
kid like a bad report on Parents' Day? Not because
Detention.
Of
they've been
course
actually
not.
bad,
No,
because you
no,
don't
no,
like
no
them.
way. No, I'm far too professional for that. But yeah, I could be very, very petty with the children in school because they are very, very petty to me, I'm sure, quite often, and probably will do things to wind me up quite
What
regularly
you're
over
trying to
that day.
say is you could be really petty towards them, Mark, because they deserve
But you
it.
choose not to.
But you're the bigger man and
I
you
am the
rise
bigger
above
man
it.
because I'm the grown up and I'm the head teacher. Probably that's why I should do that.
Oh, I'm absolutely awful. Um, yeah, I'm not Jesus. I don't have Alzheimer's and I'm not that forgiving. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to forget. and it might take me years, but I'll get my own back in some way, shape, or form. I'm a bit of a bugger.
I think my son
Like,
will be like that. My youngest Zach will be like that. He's quite conniving, and I think, yeah, he's like you. He'll do everything to the letters. If you tell him to do
oh
something,
yeah,
he'll do exactly what you've told him to do.
yeah,
Yeah, we're seeing a big difference between Ben and Zach. Ben was always very compliant and did what he was told. Zach will do exactly what you've said, and if he
yeah.
does something that I think, and you say, "Well, that's exactly what you said," and then when you go back on
I'm
it,
only
yeah,
doing what you told me.
I said, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an absolute shit in
Yeah,
that
so I have,
respect.
so I have managed to father a very petty child, I would say, probably. So
Amazing. I love pettiness. It just, when people do these little petty things, it makes me really happy because it just gives me a little bit of joy that you've stuck it to the man or whoever. But that's it for this week. I hope we've cheered you up a little bit after Saturday. Um, if you like this and you're not subscribed already on YouTube or Spotify, then please like and subscribe. Please feel free to share, comment, send to people you love, send to people you hate. We'll keep stickering everything that moves, me with my 3 stickers.
And follow us on all the social medias as well, because
Yeah,
we're on
you know,
everything. Instagram,
we're on
Facebook,
everything.
TikTok. Yeah.
TikTok, Insta, X. We've got the Black Feather on there. We've got our own individual Twitters and Instagrams. So we'll post all those. And we've still got our channel. And we've still got our community on WhatsApp. And it is a lovely little community. And I have to say, Geraint, thank you so much for the AIs you do. And I'm really loving them, even though I look like an absolute grot bag in them. I'm like,
I have to say, Garrett, I love the fact that I looked like the youngest person on the pod in all those
I
AIs.
know.
Brilliant.
And I did like the fact that it was Squidge and Astrid on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Sorry, James Reese, you didn't even get a look at me. It was us and Squidge. But we will be back next week for a Post Dragons debrief. We'll be recording at the usual time. Obviously, if anything exciting happens between now and then, we'll pop it on our socials. But all that remains to say is Nosta threw some Welsh in at the end.
I am.
I need to send the dollar clowing actually, and we're nowhere near this. That
Pas
was what got in my
Capus.
head.
Pas
That's
Capus.
Capus, yeah, that's the one.
Pas Capus, happy
Happy
Easter.
Easter. Yeah.
And we will see you all next week. And if you see us out and about, as someone did with me and Aldi last week, don't follow me around Aldi saying, there she is, there she is, there she is. Come and say hello. I'm not that scary in real life, I promise. And again, if you come near us, there is a strong possibility that Rod and I will stick you. And Black and White on X. If you see me or Rod, ask for stickers because I know you were gutted you missed out on them on Judgment Day.
They must
You
be
gotta
the only
save one
person
of
in
your
Cardiff to
remaining.
not get a sticker.
My
Must-
remaining
Yes.
3. Or alternatively, I'm just going to keep Mark's roll and order more and send them to Mark.
I have to stick in North Wales. I've got a whole region to cover, so
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But have a wonderful week, everyone, and we will see you on the other side next week.
I'm lying a gwaith.
Good night.